welcome to a most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker and a comedian shoot the eyes out of the 80s movies we think we love or possibly hate or might have missed with these are modern eyes to discuss how we think they held up. And this is a Christmas Story holiday episode. Ooh, a movie selection from 1983.
Only one story makes the holiday shine.
That star is crooked.
A classic tradition that's one of a kind. A Christmas Story.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
It celebrates the spirit of giving.
Wow.
And songs to be singing.
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sled.
Of lights big and bright.
Oh, you should see what it looks like from out here.
And little ones, naughty and nice. A yearly tradition.
My triple dog stereo.
Stuffed with delicious new treats.
A little bribe never hurts.
That make the holidays complete. So run, don't delay. Get your favorite holiday movie today.
No, I want an official red under carbonation 202 millimeter rifle.
Just be ready to shout.
You'll shoot your eye out. Ho, ho, ho.
A Christmas Story.
Hello and welcome back. It's been a while.
Christmas. It has. And it's, it's one of those things where it seems like logically we should be less busy because we can't leave our homes, but at the same time,
there's more paralyzing panic.
Yes, that's not the case. However, we did get together and do some in-person filmmaking shenanigans.
Oh, that's right.
Recently.
I almost forgot.
Yeah.
It's the passage of time is very elusive.
Indeed.
It both seems like Groundhog's Day and and just like we're in one of those slumber pods in Aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Because the years go fast and the days go slow, right? So you look up and it's the middle of October or November. It's about to be Thanksgiving, and you're just like, wait a minute! I swear to you, it was just August 5 minutes ago.
The meme or the I don't even know what it's called. The photos with the funny stuff. Are they called memes? Is it more specific?
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's like from the year that brought you 6 months of April, we now present Tuesday, part 9. Yeah, but so I with COVID, haven't done a lot. I haven't done a lot of production. I'm as viewers or audience listeners may know I'm a filmmaker, both in I do like corporate video and commercials and things like that. But you and I actually did some commercials. Oh,
we did.
I've mainly been doing editing in this new COVID environment, but I've had one COVID production, and so we had to take a lot of precautions. Everyone got tested. There was temperature testing on site. Everyone had to wear masks. That was definitely an experience. But yeah, we did some commercials, some branded spots. That's the lingo of when it's low budget for web only commercials, branded spots for redneck lipstick barbecue sauce. And then the fun thing about that is we got a lot of latitude to do something fun and silly, and they just hit at least I just saw the ads, on the interwebs today. So I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, we'll have a posting or a link. I'll probably have it on my Vimeo page. So Nathan Blackwell Vimeo, you can see the spots and you can see what Krissy and her brood look like in person.
Yes, except that like the way that I look is problematic to me in that video. It's like, oh God, is that what I look like now? What happened to me?
Yeah,
but yeah,
I've definitely been suffering what they call the quarantine 15 of just being sedentary, you know?
yes.
And
Well, and like I just feel like when I look at myself, I'm like, oh God, girl, you look tired.
uh-huh. Good time.
which makes it seem like I'm not taking a 2-hour nap every day, which I definitely am.
It's such a weird time. I should be so productive. I should be writing screenplays, and instead I just refresh the news every 3 seconds. So
yeah, well, because you have to know if you're going to write a screenplay whether or not you'll be alive to do anything with it.
Right.
But you have been working on a radio play, which I'm very excited about.
And you've got a part in it too, in episode 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been working on. It should be done by now, but it's not. You know, because again, there's so much time. But yeah, it's a scripted podcast. It's a like I call it a radio series, but a lot of people think of like these throwback 1930s stuff, which I love. Which we've got in A Christmas Story, but it's really more of a modern, scripted podcast about small town superheroes trying to make it in the big city.
Yes, and it's very funny, and it's got, as its stars, of course, Adam Reaney and Ryan Gaumont, who are past and future guests of Most Excellent 80s. Yeah, so like improv wise, of course, our theater's been closed since March, and we're doing online shows. So if you're out there in the interwebs and you want to see me do some improv, now's your chance. It's online, and we're starting to actually do the week after Thanksgiving. We're going to do outdoor shows in a lot across the street from where our theater building is.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it will be. I think it will be. We've done outdoor performances before. Usually it's for like a wedding or a corporate picnic or something like that, where you kind of just like set up your mobile outdoor everything. But we're trying to make it a little bit more permanent and professional, but it will be in the out of doors. So hopefully people will feel comfortable coming to gather in very socially distanced outdoor comedy settings. And to be honest, I don't know if I know how to do comedy anymore. I'm pretty sure I forgot.
Yeah, just the basics. I'm so out of shape. Like my cardio is, it's like people say, "Oh, I'm out of shape," but no, oh my God, I get winded just from walking across the room. So I've been trying to use an exercise bike, and man, I can't stand it. I can't stand basic movement.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can stand and talk at the same time. That might be a skill that I have lost. Yeah. Standing, moving, talking at the same time. But we do get to wear lavalier mics, which are one of my favorite things to wear. There's just something so satisfying about having a little microphone that goes over your ear like you are Britney Spears. It's just like it will never not be an empowering experience.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay, so Christmas Story, 1983. This is like one of the, I would say, big top whatever 80s holiday movies. Like this has got to be in the top 2, right? It's like this and Christmas Vacation. Yeah. What is your the history? How do you feel about A Christmas Story?
So for me, A Christmas Story is it's when I say when I say it's like my family's Christmas movie, I think it's just me and my brother's Christmas movie. It's definitely not my mom's Christmas movie, and maybe it's just me, it's got to be me and my brothers. But it's one of those ones that when we did have normal cable, we would just put on in the background when they would do 24 hours of A Christmas Story. And we wouldn't even have the sound on because we would so memorize the moments. We would just have the TV running in the background and it would be rolling on. And I think that one of the reasons why that works is because it's so episodic. That it's just so, it's really like, how do you dramatize something that is about a kid who wants a BB gun and eventually gets it, you know? And so it's really about these episodic moments of childhood and growing up in the early 40s, you know? Yeah,
it's like a slice of life, and, you know.
And so I think that's its charm is, you know, you see a lot of these movies that are very episodic and they really live or die by the quality of the moments and the episodes and like the truth that they tell or the humor that they take on them, you know? And
yeah, so I would say that that's true of Christmas Vacation as well. And like all the sort of Clark Griswold movies is that it's like this, then this, then this, then this. Like it's just a series of events.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Blues Brothers in a lot of ways too, you know?
Yes, that's an excellent comparison.
So
I hate this movie.
What?
I don't like this movie. It's my least favorite Christmas movie. I don't like it. And that's it. You know what? I'm making myself vulnerable right now. I understand that that's an unpopular opinion and that people are going to disagree with me.
So this is E.T. revisited, isn't it?
It is.
So I looked. I'm okay with this, you know. But I looked them up on IMDb, which can be very savage in its reviews. So E.T. has a 7.8, which to me feels low on IMDb.
For E.T.? Yeah, I would say generally that's agreed upon as like one of the best movies ever.
And then A Christmas Story. What do you what was your guess on its rating?
People freaking love this movie. I would say it's probably an 8.
It's 7.9.
Nice, yeah.
That in no way is to preface the value of my opinions over your opinions on this episode. I'm just throwing it out there. It's just context. It's context.
Yes. The world is on your side, Nathan Blackwell. I understand.
I love it. It's so great when the world is made for me.
Yeah, I don't like it. And I think the thing that I don't like about it, like as I watched it most recently for this, of course I've seen it 8 billion times, much like you. It's in the background at the holidays. There's nothing you can do. So I watched it this time trying to like really ask myself, what don't I like about this? And I think it's that like generally nobody is happy. Like everybody is grumpy. Like everything is like, woe is me. And I get it. It's the 40s. Like the whole world is that way. But like, even when he ultimately at the very end gets his BB gun, he gets to be happy about it for like 5 minutes. And then, it's like, oh, yeah. And then he's like, he breaks his glasses and he's like, oh, I left my gun outside. And I mean, I guess that's the point, is it's not about the having, it's about the wanting.
I don't know if it's the point, but go on. I think,
but that's everything in this movie. The dad's always grumpy. They hate the neighbors. There's, bullies. The, mom is always like so downtrodden. Like there's little moments of lightness and you think people care about each other, but on the whole, even Santa and his goddamn elves are the meanest people ever.
So
I think that's what I don't respond to.
Okay. So my take on the tone of the movie is that it's all kind of the mythos of being a child and seeing it from a child's point of view of how big and epic the bully was, or how important some of these things like Santa and getting what you wanted for Christmas, and like dad's feud with like the furnace, and it's just all kind of an elevated, quote, epic kind of, it's like even the lines that they use in the narration is like the epic battle is still folklore that lives on today. It's like just the way that kids saw childhood and how important and big things were. And, the making, because again, it's just about a kid who wants something for Christmas, making something, as significant, and the mythos around saying your first curse word in front of your dad and the repercussions and all the things that happened, or just like how a child sees like a store Santa. Like store Santas can be really super scary to a kid, and it's so everything, all these different aspects of childhood are just kind of elevated into kind of mythos. But, it's like one of the things that I really liked about, that I really respond to the movie is the setting, is that being set like in the early 40s, it just felt like it felt like time travel, because I felt like it did such a good job. There was also the exoticness of like being in the Midwest and everything being cold. It's set.
Yes.
It's set in.
I cannot relate to the cold situation.
It's set in Indiana. I think they shot in Cleveland, but it just feels like the kind of 40s that you always imagined existed. Like it feels like a time capsule. Like I remember genuinely being surprised that this movie was filmed in the 80s. But I mean, why wouldn't it be? I guess they didn't film it in the 40s. Like it just to me, it feels they do such a good job in terms of the style and just the locations and the clothing and the details, that everything just feels like a time capsule, It
does, but like the thing about it is that the way that it looks like in the 40s and snowy and all of that, I think is something I also don't like about it, because the color palette is so like
it's like Norman
it's
Rockwell.
So brown.
Yeah, it's like it's like frozen Norman Rockwell, just like the uses of like reds and like blues and greens and things like that.
That is exactly the color palette. And when I watch it, I don't think to myself like, oh, I want to go to there, in the same way that you sometimes do in other movies that take you to a time and a place. I'm like, ugh, I'm so glad I am not there to wear a lumpy brown sweater and, have to walk in the snow. But that doesn't mean there's nothing about the movie that I like. I love his fantasies, his daydreams, and the way that he imagines everything to its extreme. And, there are these little vignettes where everyone plays a character and all of that is heightened. That I relate to, and that I like. I also like the little brother who's like in his gigantic snowsuit and his little giggle. But yeah, but it is. It's just it's an episode. It's the tongue stuck to the pole, the bullies, the Christmas bonus, the major award, tree shopping, saying the F word, eating the soap, the decoder ring, Santa. Like it's just this, then this, then this, then this, and some of them are better than others, I think.
You just listed all the best things in order.
Okay. No. I agree that the tongue sticking to the pole is the best part of the movie. If that's what you mean. Sticking the tongue to the pole is the funniest part of the movie. Although I still hate it because the kids are triple dog dare, the triple dog dare. What? You skipped the double dog dare. And then the poor kid like gets half of his tongue frozen off. But it is funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was my... I don't know what my most favorite part in the movie is. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Hard pressed, I'm not sure what my favorite moment of the movie is, Because
you have so many favorite moments that you couldn't choose
I would say, yeah. Probably my favorite sequence, but it's not necessarily one that I love. I just love the exaggeration of it. Is the Store Santa line on how how you know, just like how, you know, he's got this, he goes like, okay, great, so mom doesn't want me to have this BB gun, but I've got a way to circumvent mom. I can talk to the manager, I can talk to the big guy, I can go to Santa himself. So he's impatient to visit Santa. And so what do you do to make, you know, this an obstacle? Is that you make it kind of the worst nightmare of Store Santas, but it's probably the reality of Store Santas too, you know?
Store Santas and their elves in the 40s were probably treated children exactly like that, where they're like, boom, you're on the lap, get out of here, you monster, and then they send you down a slide.
But yeah, there's probably two moments in the movies that I most remember what it was like to be a child in and to experience those. The Store Santa, and just how intimidating waiting in line to see Santa, and then like that he's right in your face, ho ho ho, that wide angle lens, and just like how scared shitless as a kid you feel, you know, and then that comedic moment to where he just freezes up. They throw him down the slide. He like stops, you know, and turns around, remembers what he wants, and they said, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid," and they push his face down the slide. Yep. Like that would be the moment that I relate to, but probably the moment that I most remember what it was like to be a kid, that I kind of felt it, was when Ralphie had got into the fight, and then he was home, and then he was crying in the dark as mom was making dinner, waiting for dad to come home. I definitely had that as a kid, and just immediately like felt it, like what it was like to kind of wait for the execution, you know, just kind of crying, looking at your comic books because you had genuinely done something wrong, and just waiting for dad to come home and for the punishment to arrive, you know?
So I think that part in particular is one of the like nice warm moments where like mom doesn't tell on Ralphie. Like mom does not, it's Ralphie, right? The other one's Randy. Yeah. She like she sees how affected he is by it. And so she doesn't make it a big deal. And that's a nice warm moment where he's like, finally, my mom was my friend, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, that was a great moment. That's when you really felt it, you know. It's like, and I thought the mom was great, you know. I thought the actress was great. There were so many these little moments to where she was both the mom but still a person, you know.
Yeah, her performance is very believable.
Yeah, I feel like the parents are great, you know, like they. You know, Darren McGavin is just, you know, iconic as the dad, you know.
Yes, I agree. Like he is an iconic grumpy dad who like doesn't really connect much to the family,
right, but has that degree of mirth to him as well.
Yeah, he has that moment where he finally gives Ralphie the BB gun, and it's like that's probably my favorite part of the movie in terms of like feeling good about it, is that he's like, what's that over there? And he's like, oh, a boy needs a weapon. And like that was a moment where you're like, oh, he genuinely like does care. He's not like as disconnected as he seems. That was a nice moment.
Yeah. One of the things I like is that it plays the kid's point of view for a lot of the movie, but the parents are allowed to have there's allowed to exist a subtext, almost kind of like it's a mix between being told as a legend through the kid's narration, but yet we're still seeing almost a documentary view of the events. And so you get to see the subtext of the parents being real people and experiencing these situations as if they were happening, you know, like the mom trying out the soap herself,
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Or the moment when they, Christmas dinner is destroyed and they have to go to the Chinese restaurant and they all just don't know what to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of warmth in those little moments, which it's. I feel like it's like the you kind of get that in the unofficial TV adaptation, The Wonder Years, which was inspired by this. A lot of that.
I learned that today. Like, I didn't know that, but of course, they are blood brothers. Those two.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which makes sense because I don't love The Wonder Years. I'll be honest with you. I like Kevin Arnold, but I don't love The Wonder Years. Okay, so another moment I want to talk about is the decoder ring situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little orphan Annie decoder ring.
Yes, which he is sent away for. He's so excited. Like, I can relate to that in childhood where you're like sent away for something and you're waiting for it to come, and every day you check the mail and it's not there.
For a kid, it's a magical, you're a part of a secret society. Like, you're in the know. It's something special and mysterious. And what you don't realize is this basically, junk advertising.
Yeah. It's there to advertise to you. So, like, that part where he locks himself in the bathroom and the tension is just building and, like, everyone's outside banging, like, you need to get out of there. What are you doing in there? And he's like, I got to save Orphan Annie. And he's like, the narration is like, it was starting to come more easily to me, the decoder ring. And then it's like, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. And then he's like, what? Like, that's this movie. That's this movie is like excitement, build, a disappointment.
The loss of innocence.
Yes, it is. Well, and it's the same thing that happens with the leg lamp, which we also have to talk about.
Fragile.
Yeah. I will say this is one of the most quotable and I think quoted movies ever.
I used Fragile last week.
Yes. That you have to say it when you encounter
when
that
you're
word.
opening a package.
Must be Italian. Yeah. And to the point where it's so included in the cultural lexicon that I think that, like, it's possible that younger generations quote this movie and don't realize that they're quoting this movie in that same, like, Rocky way, Rambo way, where it's like, oh, this is what that's from? Oh, you'll shoot your eye out. You'll shoot your eye out. Like, it's just part of us.
Yeah.
At Christmas time. Tell me your thoughts on the whole leg lamp situation.
It's interesting how, as you get older, you see, when you're young, you see these from the kid's point of view. And as you get older, you really start to appreciate the adult points of view, the parents' points of view, and how, again, like I said, how in this viewing, I watched and enjoyed the mom a lot more, and seeing her not only as the mom, but as a person, as a character, as a person who I'm probably older than, and
I mean, yeah, in the 1940s, she was probably 23,
right, but the thing that I enjoyed this time around, and I probably saw it from this angle before, but just especially appreciated it, is just the dad's need to be a winner and that he won something. And he's so proud that he is completely blinded by the thing that he actually got. If he had seen this in a store, it would not have been grand. But the fact that this was a major award is the validation that he needs in his very basic, humdrum life, his routine life. And so he is now, a great achiever. He has this major award and he's going to display it. And it's the cheesiest, most ridiculous, inappropriate thing. And he's blinded by the success to the context and what his wife and family might think of it, you know?
Mhm.
And he, even outside, he's so proud that he starts convincing other people around him in the neighborhood that it's this great achievement. Because initially they're like, what is that? You know? And they start to turn around that, you know, it's, you can see that kind of story in any kind of like small community. It's like, oh, I just had this great achievement, and everyone else is kind of convinced because no one else wins major awards in this town, you know, or in this neighborhood.
Yes. So how would you know what a major award looks like? Maybe if you win one, you'll get the other leg, and eventually we'll build a whole person.
Yeah, even there, it's like, okay. Like they start to come around to the whole idea, you know?
Yeah, they're, look at this. I guess that's a major award.
Mhm.
It reminds me so much of that moment too in Christmas Vacation, which are very similar movies, where Clark is so building up in his mind what his Christmas bonus is going to be and what he's going to do with it, and then he gets the big disappointment that it's the Jelly of the Month Club, right? This feels like that, where it's like your expectations are so high and your need for approval, like that dad need for approval and to be a winner and to like earn and be the like big dad of the family, and then it's a disappointment is such a cliche, and I understand it, but I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good, you know. It makes me feel so sad for everything in the whole situation, for like the corporation that doesn't care, and the dad who's so desperate, and the family who's like, it's okay, Dad, it's like that whole thing.
Well, I think it's interesting, in these Christmas movies that there's a theme that dad is the common man, that, in Christmas Vacation, we're really seeing it from dad's point of view, the things he tries to do that are special for his family, but in this one, we're seeing it more from Ralphie's point of view, but it's the fact that dad is this common man who's trying to do his best, or within the context of this holiday, which is effectively an event, a ritual that you have to put on, and so every year you have to continue the ritual. And you've got to go through the event. Mom has to make this giant dinner, Mom and dad have to put out this big presentation for the Christmas tree, Dad has to do like in Christmas Vacation, like he's got to put up the lights and make it a show, and it's his responsibility to make the season special, and it's ultimately the conflict between it is pulling that off and failing. But ultimately, like the realization that your dad is a normal guy,
Yeah. What lovely analysis that was, Nathan. Good work, you. Yeah, and the whole ritual of the whole thing, which is a moment I like too, when the dogs get the turkey, like Ralphie is lamenting, like, no turkey soup, no turkey sandwich, no turkey dumplings, no turkey salad. Like, It would be so easy to not want those things, to be like, oh my God, another turkey dumpling, another turkey salad. But he wants those things. Because they're part of this.
The ritual, the event, it's like you always try to pull off it's like Thanksgiving in the same way, but it's just not as visual, like I've definitely had unsuccessful Thanksgivings and successful Thanksgivings, and you always try to do your best year round, but
well, and it's like, isn't that so interesting now that it's like that ritual, like we're looking at something that was made in the 80s that's based in the 40s, and it's like, oh my God, we have to have this, and this in order for our holiday to be what it needs to be, or we as a family, as Americans, we are failures. And now that we're in a pandemic, everyone's like, but no, the ritual, we must, the turkey, we simply must look at each other. And even if we don't like being in the same room, we must put the sweater on and sit on the couch and tell the stories and eat the turkey.
I think that's the interesting thing, because it's not, this is just this year's version of that debate, because I don't know, like in my household, every year, what is the proper ritual, or what is the ritual this year, is up for negotiation, you know?
Absolutely.
One person is like, one person likes this for Thanksgiving, another person likes this for Thanksgiving. Like, I'm not a huge turkey fan. Like, I'd prefer to have roasted chicken or like ham or something like that. But then my brother and his girlfriend, they don't eat ham at all. You know, it's like, so, and then, you know, it's like the question of stuffing, like, you know, it's like Brian can't eat celery, you know, so that's not going in the stuffing, and I can't eat apples, so that doesn't go like in the cranberry dessert. And so it's like, oh, Brian's not coming this year. Oh, great. We get to have this then, you know, it's like,
get the celery, cram that sucker full of celery.
Yeah. And it seems like every year, whether it be like Thanksgiving or Christmas, the ritual that we're going to observe, it has like a power vacuum or a power play. It goes back and forth. Like what it's like, I hear like, you know, Tom Hanks, he loves like the classic, like 40s style, like Christmas tree where you get all the silver tinsel covering it from top to bottom. But he only gets that every other year because none of his family likes that. So they have to alternate, you know, it's always what is the ritual is always a negotiation, at least in my experience. And
absolutely.
You know, it's like,
I myself, I like a prime rib. Let's not have a turkey at all. Let's do a prime rib. Let's you know, the point is not, as you say, to do the ritual the right way every time. It's supposed to be right to give thanks and be with your family, or just at least appreciate your family. And so that's how you show appreciation, I think, is to be like, okay, well, if you don't want celery, we're not going to put it in there. Because it's not about the celery. It's about us or whatever. So I did like that. I did like that in A Christmas Story, there isn't some element of the in-laws coming over or like having to deal with people outside of their own family. I like that they're doing all of this ritual because just for them, for the four of them to enjoy. So I like that piece of it.
They do get that, you know, it's the classic imagery, but they do get the terrible present from the aunt.
Yes, the bunny suit.
Yeah, and that's definitely a thing. Never so bad in my experience, but
yeah, I never understood the bunny suit. I get that it's funny and it's a funny visual, and like, you know, even this year there's a resurgence of like Christmas ornaments and outdoor decoration inflatables of Ralphie in the bunny suit. But it just never made sense to me. I was like, it's not Easter, lady. Well, what are you doing?
It's supposed to be the epitome of the bad reoccurring present from an aunt, you know, or a family member who doesn't get you. Like, typically it's like a bad sweater, you know, and you get a new bad sweater every year, but they just cranked it up to 11 and made it like a bunny suit, which you know, it doesn't work at all. It's just the epitome of embarrassment.
Yeah, you couldn't even wear that to like appease the person. Right. Like you could a sweater or some socks. And I like that the mom is just like, oh my God, this is the most precious thing. It reminded me of Linda from Bob's Burgers, that she would just love that. And the dad's like, he looks like a demented murdering rabbit. Like, you gotta get that that out of here. Yeah, the dad
like literally sees trauma radiating off of him.
Yes. Oh, that poor boy. Yeah, and like he's supposed to be 9, right? Yeah. So it's like that's way too. That's like way out of the pocket of like it being cute to wear a onesie, and you're not yet into that like young 20s thing where you're like, I'm wearing a onesie, it's cool. Like that poor boy. And there's so much of an element of bullying in this movie. Like bullying is a major theme.
Oh yeah.
He even says at one point, you're either a bully, a toady, or a victim. And that's the only 3 categories of person you can be. And just like, I'm glad they didn't have some sort of thing where he was made to wear that outside because, oh my God. And he does, overcome his bully, I guess. He just like loses his mind and goes crazy on that kid.
Yeah.
That kid who was just a generic bully. Like,
I feel like he's almost in a lot of ways the template bully or like the template.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, I feel like a lot of movie bullies are based off of Scut Farkus.
Yes. Even in the way that they look with the sort of red hair and the freckles, like that's what Buzz looks like in Home Alone. That's what bullies are.
And the great music that they use for him. It's like the one of the things that helps evoke the era is just their great use of like these classical music, and like this is like the Peter and the Wolf, the kids being hunted by this. It just again lends to not just the era, but just kind of like the mythos and feeling like everything that is happening is big and eventful to these kids.
Yeah. So what is this? Would you say this is your favorite Christmas movie? Like outside of the 80s, is this your favorite Christmas movie? Are there others that you hold dear?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would go on record and say this is my favorite Christmas movie because a lot of them are much more tender, and I feel like this one is funnier.
Okay, so I would say in terms of being funny, I think Elf is a funnier Christmas movie. How do you feel about Elf?
I enjoy Elf. I find it. I didn't grow up on Elf.
Of course. So is that what it's lacking for you? The nostalgia?
No, I would say that I find A Christmas Story genuinely funnier than Elf. I would probably put my number 2 Christmas movie, Scrooged.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, and then maybe Charlie Brown Christmas, and then just that is purely for nostalgia.
Yeah, because can I tell you something? I hate a Charlie Brown Christmas.
And then and this is, of course, under the pretext that Die Hard is not being counted in this.
That we can't.
Right.
Of course, we're not including that. So I think my favorite is probably Home Alone, and I have that you're looking at this and saying, "Oh my God, like that's childhood." Like I feel the same way about Home Alone, and you could argue with me, and you should, that like Home Alone is also super negative. Like he hates his family, he wants them gone. Everything is disappointment. He's happy that thinks he's erased his family, but for some reason I relate to that more and hate it less. So who knows? But I like Home Alone. I like Elf. I like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, that's definitely in the top 5.
So there's a lot of, and you've already mentioned quite a few of them, but there is a lot of like trivia and stuff to talk about with this movie. People love this movie.
Yeah, well, people went nuts when it was removed from the theater on the first run.
Yeah, and they were like, you get me that Christmas Story back.
Yeah.
You put it back in this theater right now, and don't you take it away till we say so.
Yeah, usually this stuff grows, and it was immediately like people's favorite.
Yeah. So there's one guy who bought the house in 2005. He bought the house that the movie was filmed at in Cleveland, and he spent years recreating it.
Wow.
Like as a like
museum,
exact museum of how the inside of the Christmas Story house looks. And he bought the house next door to make it a museum. Just a guy. It's
Wow.
not like the movie theater.
Uh-huh.
It's just a guy
Uh-huh.
who's like,
Yeah, you
I
don't
will
see
spend-
that except like in Star Trek fandom, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like next level dedication. Like there's a story about a pair of dudes who like went on a road trip to go to all of the locations, and they found all of the locations, even the ones that like don't exist anymore or are something else now. So like that's the level of dedication and commitment that people have to this movie.
Did I tell you? So, my brother Logan actually recreated the ending or the scene where the dad goes like, "What's that? What's that over there? Do you see that?" He recreated that on Christmas Day with my brother Brian, and actually bought him a Red Ryder BB gun.
Oh, that's precious.
It was at the end of Christmas, and Logan was like, I can't remember if it was Logan or Brian, because they're both fully capable of doing that. I feel like it was Logan who bought it for Brian. Yeah. And so Logan, who we've had on the Rambo episode, it's like, what's that over there? Is that something over there? You should check that out. And in the corner was a Red Ryder BB gun.
Oh, that is precious, and I adore that. My family one year got everybody in the family, myself and my brother and my sister, Red Ryder BB guns, and like it was a whole Christmas Story theme. So we each got a DVD of it, and like a little like a stress ball, you know, those squeezy things that you squeeze. That was the soap, like the red soap. And it said A Christmas Story, and like, we all got BB guns.
Wow.
Which I loved the BB gun. I was like, thank you for this weapon, and just did not have the heart to be like, I'm never gonna watch this DVD. But why would I need to? It's on all the time. But yeah, so I do think that's cute, and I'm not against BB guns though. Oh, but also like, so the Daisy Rifle Company made those Red Ryder BB guns because this movie was so popular. And it's like, yeah, seriously, and those leg lamps. Oh my God, you see them everywhere.
Now we
They're
we haven't adopted that tradition yet.
No, you don't have a leg lamp. Well, I think you need to get
I
one
know.
for your family.
Maybe
need
one
to-
day when I win a prize, I'll deserve it.
Yes. Well, you got to earn that major award.
Yeah.
So Will Wheaton auditioned for the role of Ralphie. Can you imagine that alternate universe?
Yeah, I feel like he was too sincere at that age.
Yeah. He wasn't cartoony enough.
Yeah.
Like Peter Billingsley, really, he just looks like someone drew a child.
Yeah, he's so good. Yeah, it's like an adult playing who is transformed into a child. Yeah.
He has like such a baby face, and just like you said it, that Norman Rockwell coloring of his blue eyes and his rosy cheeks. It's like it's too much. And he is definitely perfect for it. His friends are flicking Schwartz. Yeah, okay. I think we've already talked about most of the.
Yeah, I feel like my one criticism watching the movie again is it kind of feels like it's missing like the perfect end button to the movie. You know, it just
it just sort of ends, doesn't it?
And yeah, the credits just roll
After he comes in and like he leaves the BB gun outside, and they're just like, okay, well, we're gonna have Christmas.
Yeah, honestly, that's the only complaint I've got of this movie, is that it's just missing like this perfect button at the end. You know.
Well, is that like a hallmark of the 80s though? Like, I mean, talk about like Karate Kid and stuff. Like, they're just like, and the movie's over.
No.
Get out. The movie's over.
I felt like I felt like Karate Kid, even though it was like, yeah, the movie's over. It had that button, that tag. You know, it's
the kick, the train kick.
You get the music, the swell. It's the peak of emotion. It's the end of like the Rocky movie, and then you cut to not Daniel but Mr. Miyagi, and you get that sense of approval and
Yeah.
and then boom, it's done. Then you don't want to stay any longer. I felt like that was a perfect ending, even though it was bam, we're done. Like it just needed something, even if it was just the narration to tie it on, and we like pull back on the neighborhood just a little more. It was almost there, but that's my only complaint.
Yeah. Well, but that's what this movie is. It's a lot of buildup and then disappointment. That's the button. So what would your rating be on a scale of 1 major award to 10 major awards? How many major awards do you give?
So I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Okay.
I'm tempted to give it higher.
Well, do it. Look, it's Christmas.
8 points. I'll stand at 8.5.
Okay, you love this movie. If you want to give it a 9, Nathan, I encourage.
It's in my heart. It's not one of those, oh my God, I love it, I've got to rewatch it. Instead, I watch it every time it's on, It's not like, I guess the thing that's keeping it from a 9 is like, oh my God, we've got to watch this. More like it's a warm blanket,
Okay.
So I'll go with 8.5. 8.75.
Okay. I will give it a 6 because even though it's not for me, I understand objectively that it is a nice movie.
You see how strangers could be convinced to not hate portions of it.
Sure. Like, I understand that my views are not the express written views of,
it's like people of the opposite political view. You understand how they could be conned into believing these things.
Well, I understand why you like it, and I just like E.T. Like, I get why people like it. There's just something about it that it's not for me, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. People, I'll give you get your Christmas Story. You keep it. It's there for you. I'm not taking it away from you, but like, I don't need it. I'm good.
Don't take away my Christmas Story.
I would never. So what is your deep cut recommendation? And I think it's tough.
It is tough. It is tough. So what I went with and it's not really a 1-to-1, but it's more kind of like, again, it's like rewatching it, I got nostalgic for an era that I would never lived through, which is like, the late 30s, early 40s. And, and another form of media that I enjoy from that era are these serials, these old cliffhanger serials. So like he had listened to the radio, but these were like in the movie theaters, like the serials, the old serials, like when we're thinking of that stuff like Flash Gordon and stuff that inspired a lot of sci-fi from the 70s. So my deep cut recommendation is if you're wanting more of that, like him, like Little Orphan Annie and like the cowboy stuff and like the pirate radio series, is if you want to get into these old classic, like film cliffhangers. And so what they would do is that they would be like 20 minutes long and they'd be before the feature film. And the idea is that it would be like a 12-part series. And so they would always, end with a cliffhanger, like you didn't know how they get out of it. Like the minecart is filled with dynamite and it's going to explode and it's going off a cliff, or like the airplane is going to crash because there's no pilot, like very Indiana Jones kind of stuff. Not the radio series, like the series I'd recommend is Spy Smasher from 1942. So there's 12 chapters, and it's very, like, if you're into Indiana Jones and that era of entertainment, this is one of the better ones. It's basically, Spy Smasher is kind of a very early, superhero in a lot of ways, but he's kind of like, bare knuckle punching out Nazis and crime lords and things like that. It's one of the more entertaining of these series, and I'm pretty sure you can find it on YouTube. But Spy Smasher.
I think that's a great recommendation. So I would say my deep cut recommendation is thoughtful gift giving. Like in the era of the internet and Etsy and Redbubble and places where you can get like really, really specific handmade gifts and have them sent everywhere in the world, like lickety split. Give a nice gift to somebody that's like really either perfectly thoughtful and give it to them in such a way that it's that fun moment of like, what's that over there? Oh, did we forget one present? Or give them something that's really specific to a movie they love or a TV show that they like, or give them the worst thing you can think of, like a bunny suit.
Just make it memorable.
There
better be joy or trauma. Either way,
no phoning it in.
No phoning it in, guys.
No Jelly of the Month Club, either great or terrible.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, of course, we didn't do our whole, I'm a filmmaker, you're a comedian.
By this time, they know.
They know? Okay. So, where do you want to tell people where they should go to find and look at your things?
Yeah, the best way is to go to squishystudios.com or to visit Squishy Studios on YouTube for any of our current projects.
Yes. And you can find me doing online improv at nctphoenix.com and on the YouTubes as well at NCT Improv. Yay. So thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate you. Find all of us, our stuff online at mostexcellentpod.com and on the Instagrams at mostexcellentpod. And remember, when you're out there in the world, especially during the holiday season, remember to be excellent to each other and
party on, dude.
Party on, dude.
Whoa.
You'll shoot your eye out.
You'll shoot your eye out.